Welcome to Mystic Realms Revealed, where we journey deep into the heart of African spirituality and the incredible power of ancestral wisdom. Across vibrant cultures, the unseen world pulses with spirits, rituals, and ancient knowledge that guides life, healing, and destiny. Today, we'll uncover hidden truths behind sacred practices, explore the voices of ancestors, and reveal how this timeless wisdom continues to shape identity and resilience. Prepare to challenge stereotypes, ignite curiosity, and witness a spiritual legacy as old as time itself. Let's unlock the mysteries together and step into the powerful realms of African tradition and ancestral spirit. When people hear the phrase African spirituality, images of drums, masked dancers, or mysterious rituals might flash through their minds. But African spirituality is far richer, deeper, and more nuanced than the stereotypes often portrayed in films or media. It's a living, breathing philosophy, a cosmology that weaves together the visible and invisible worlds, anchoring human existence within the rhythms of nature and the whispers of ancestral voices. Mystic Realms Revealed. African spirituality and the power of ancestral wisdom is more than a catchy title. It's an invitation to explore how millions of Africans and members of the African diaspora worldwide connect to forces beyond the physical world, finding guidance, healing, and a profound sense of identity through ancestral wisdom. Let's journey into this mystic realm, layer by layer. The foundations of African spirituality. African spirituality isn't a single religion. It's a constellation of beliefs, rituals, and practices unique to each culture, yet connected by common threads. Across the continent's vast geography, from the Yoruba of Nigeria to the Zulu of South Africa, the Akan of Ghana to the Dinka of Sudan, certain core principles recur. Vital force/life energy. Life is seen as flowing with an unseen energy, sometimes called Ash Yoruba, Nyama, Mande, or Ntu, Akan, that permeates all things. Rocks, rivers, trees, animals, and humans are all alive with spiritual force. Communal living and interconnectedness. Community is sacred. People do not exist as isolated individuals, but as part of families, clans, villages, and cosmic orders. Every action affects not only oneself, but the entire community, living and departed. The spirit world. There's an understanding that another reality exists alongside the physical one, a realm inhabited by spirits, ancestors, and deities who influence human destiny. Ancestral reverence. Ancestors are neither gone nor forgotten. They remain vital members of the family, capable of intervening to bless, guide, or even discipline the living. Balance and harmony. Life's purpose is to maintain balance between people and nature, the living and the dead, the visible and the invisible. These core ideas shape every ritual, festival, and spiritual practice. 2. The pantheon of spirits and deities. Many African spiritual systems are polytheistic, with deities overseeing various domains of life. For instance, Yoruba religion, Nigeria the Orishas, are divine beings governing forces like thunder Shango, love Ashen, or wisdom Orunmila. While Olodumare is the supreme creator, daily life revolves around the Orishas, who act as intermediaries. Vodun Benin, Togo spirits, called Vodun, from which voodoo derives, oversee natural elements, family, and specific life events. Zulu religion, South Africa Unkalunkalu, is the great creator, but ancestors, Amadlozi, remain central to worship and guidance. Yet African spirituality is not rigidly dogmatic. The same people might honor a supreme deity, local spirits, and ancestors simultaneously. This flexibility makes African spirituality remarkably adaptable and resilient, even under colonial and missionary pressures. 3. Ancestors, the living dead. Perhaps the most distinctive and misunderstood aspect of African spirituality is ancestral veneration. To modern Western minds, the idea of talking to the dead may sound eerie or superstitious. But in African thought, ancestors are not ghosts haunting the living. They're spiritual elders who continue to take an active interest in family affairs. Who are the ancestors? Ancestors are usually deceased family members who lived exemplary lives, people remembered for integrity, wisdom, or leadership. Not every deceased person becomes an ancestor. Some traditions believe improper conduct in life disqualifies a soul from assuming the role. Role of ancestors. Mediators. Ancestors act as bridges between humans and higher spiritual forces. Protectors. They guard families against misfortune or evil. Advisors. Through dreams, visions, or divination, they provide guidance. Moral guardians. They remind communities to uphold customs, traditions, and values. Why such importance? Ancestral veneration ensures the community never forgets its roots. It fosters social cohesion and reinforces identity, offering a sense of belonging and historical continuity. 4. Communication with the spirit world. African spirituality is profoundly experiential. It's not merely theology, but lived practice. People communicate with spirits and ancestors in many ways. 1. Divination. Divination is widespread, offering glimpses into the unseen. Examples include Ifa divination. Yoruba, a diviner Babalawo, interprets patterns of sacred palm nuts or divining chains to answer questions about health, destiny, or family issues. Throwing bones. Zulu and other cultures, a diviner casts bones, shells, or stones, interpreting how they fall to reveal messages from ancestors. Cowrie shells. Vodun. Santeria shell patterns indicate spiritual truths or decisions. Divination doesn't just predict the future. It diagnoses the spiritual causes of problems and prescribes solutions, rituals, offerings, or lifestyle changes. 2. Dreams and trance states. Dreams are significant channels of spiritual communication. An ancestor might appear with warnings, advice, or requests for offerings. Some traditions employ drumming, chanting, or dance to induce trance states, allowing mediums to embody spirits and deliver messages. 3. Rituals and offerings. Rituals maintain cosmic balance and honor spiritual forces. They might involve libations, pouring liquids to the earth as offerings. Animal sacrifices, often chickens or goats, depending on cultural context. Feasts shared with both the living and the spirits. Dance, drumming, and chanting to summon specific energies. Such rituals are rarely random. They're highly structured and performed by trained specialists like priests, priestesses, or diviners. V. African spirituality and healing. Healing in African spirituality is holistic, addressing physical, emotional, and spiritual imbalances. Illness is often believed to stem from breaking taboos, offending ancestors, witchcraft or spiritual attacks, loss of vital force. A healer diagnoses the spiritual cause and prescribes herbs, prayers, or rituals. The healer, known variously as Sangoma, Southern Africa, Babalawo, Yoruba, or Nana, Central Africa, is both doctor and spiritual guide. Herbal medicine and spirituality. Plants aren't just medicinal, they possess spiritual energy. A herb used for fever might also be crucial in cleansing rituals or protective charms. 6. Festivals and sacred spaces. African spirituality thrives in community gatherings and sacred places. Festivals. Festivals often coincide with agricultural cycles, honoring deities, spirits, and ancestors. For instance, Osun Festival. Nigeria celebrates the river goddess Osun with dance, music, and offerings. Homowo Festival. Ghana marks the end of a famine. thanking spirits for the harvest. These events reinforce social unity, transmit cultural knowledge, and keep spiritual traditions alive. Sacred spaces. Certain locations, mountains, rivers, trees, are believed to house powerful spirits. People visit these sites for prayer, healing, or to leave offerings. Osunosogbo Sacred Grove, Nigeria, a UNESCO heritage site, sacred to the goddess Oshun. Lake Bosumtwi, Ghana, considered sacred, where spirits of ancestors dwell. These sites are often protected as cultural heritage, preserving both spiritual and ecological importance. 7. African spirituality in the diaspora. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly scattered millions of Africans across the Americas and Caribbean. Yet their spirituality endured, evolving into Santeria, Cuba, a blend of Yoruba Orisha worship and Catholic saints. Candomblé, Brazil, African deities honored through music, dance, and possession. Vodou, Haiti, rooted in Fan and Yoruba traditions, with syncretism between African spirits and Catholic saints. Despite attempts by colonial powers to suppress these practices, African spiritual systems survived, hidden behind Catholic symbols or adapted to new contexts. Today, these traditions flourish, offering healing, community, and identity to descendants of the African diaspora. 8. African spirituality and modernity. Modern African societies are increasingly urban and globalized. Christianity and Islam are widespread. Yet African spirituality persists. People might attend church on Sunday, but visit a diviner during crises. Urban professionals consult ancestors before major life decisions. African-inspired rituals appear in art, music, and literature worldwide. There's a growing movement to reclaim African spirituality as a source of pride, identity, and cultural heritage. Far from dying out, it's adapting and thriving. 9. Misconceptions and misrepresentation. Sadly, African spirituality has often been misunderstood or demonized. Colonial narratives labeled African practices as witchcraft or paganism. Films and pop culture depict African rituals as sinister or dark magic. These portrayals ignore the depth, beauty, and moral philosophy underlying African traditions. African spirituality is fundamentally about harmony, respect for life, and maintaining balance between humans, nature, and spirit. X. The power of ancestral wisdom. Why does ancestral wisdom remain so powerful? Identity. It connects people to their roots, giving meaning to existence. Guidance. It offers moral and practical advice through rituals, dreams, and divination. Healing. It provides holistic solutions beyond mere physical remedies. Resilience. It fosters community strength in the face of adversity. In a world grappling with disconnection, mental health crises, and environmental destruction, African spirituality offers profound lessons. It reminds us that we belong to something bigger than ourselves, a cosmic family stretching across time and space. A legacy of spirit. Across centuries, continents, and cultures, humanity has been driven by more than survival. We seek meaning, connection, and a sense of belonging to something greater than ourselves. This search has given birth to myths, rituals, sacred places, and the enduring sense that we are part of a cosmic tapestry woven by invisible forces. We might call this profound inheritance a legacy of spirit. But what exactly is a legacy of spirit? It's the accumulated spiritual wisdom, practices, stories, and energies passed from generation to generation. It's not just religious dogma, but a living pulse that shapes identity, ethics, and resilience. In African contexts, this legacy is especially powerful, for it binds communities to ancestors, nature, and the unseen realms in ways both practical and mystical. This essay explores the many layers of a legacy of spirit, how it forms, why it matters, and how it continues to guide individuals and societies in the modern world. Understanding spirit. The word spirit has many meanings. It can refer to life force, the vital energy believed to animate all living things, non-physical beings, ancestors, deities, or supernatural entities. Inner essence, the true self, the soul. Collective ethos, the spirit of a community, its shared values and energy. In African spirituality, spirit is all these things at once. It's both immanent and transcendent, present in the trees and rivers, yet also existing in higher planes. Spirit is relational. It flows between people, ancestors, animals, and nature, creating a world where everything is connected. 2. The foundations of spiritual legacy. A legacy of spirit emerges from several interwoven threads. 1. Ancestral memory. In many African traditions, ancestors remain vital members of society. They are the living dead, still involved in guiding and protecting the family. Ancestors transmit wisdom, warn of dangers, and remind communities of moral obligations. This ancestral connection fosters a powerful sense of continuity. The present is never isolated, but stands on the shoulders of the past. People draw courage and identity from knowing they belong to an unbroken chain. 2. Oral traditions and storytelling. A significant part of the spiritual legacy is preserved through storytelling. Myths, proverbs, folktales, and praise poetry pass down ethical values, cosmological beliefs, and historical knowledge. A Yoruba tale might explain the origins of the Orishas, divine spirits who govern nature and human affairs. An Akan proverb like the river that forgets its source will dry up reminds people of the dangers of forgetting one's roots. Such narratives are not just entertainment, they encode spiritual truths, offering guidance for daily life. 3. Rituals and symbols. Rituals are the living heartbeat of spiritual legacy. They allow communities to connect with the divine through drumming, dance, and offerings. Mark transitions, births, initiations, marriages, and funerals. Restore balance. Healing ceremonies for sickness or social discord. Symbols, like sacred masks, totems, or colors, carry layers of spiritual meaning. A particular drumbeat can summon specific spirits, while certain colors signal the presence of deities or ancestral forces. 3. Spirit and identity. One of the most profound impacts of a spiritual legacy is its role in shaping identity. Personal identity. Individuals are born into spiritual lineages. Names, totems, and family histories often reflect spiritual affiliations. For instance, a child born on a certain day might be named after a deity associated with that day. Someone might carry the totem of a lion, signifying courage and royal lineage. Such markers give people a sense of purpose and place in the cosmic order. Collective identity. Entire ethnic groups or nations forge identities rooted in shared spiritual narratives. Festivals, sacred sites, and communal rituals bind people together, affirming their uniqueness and solidarity. Consider the Osun Osogbo Festival in Nigeria, celebrating the goddess Osun, which reinforces Yoruba cultural pride. The Homowo Festival among the Ga people of Ghana, marking triumph over famine, blending spiritual gratitude with cultural resilience. A legacy of spirit strengthens communal bonds, ensuring traditions endure even under external pressures like colonization or globalization. 4. Spirit as a source of resilience. Throughout history, communities have turned to their spiritual legacy for strength in adversity. Colonial era and resistance. Colonial powers often sought to suppress African spiritual practices, labeling them pagan or savage. Missionaries dismantled shrines, banned rituals, and replaced local belief systems with European religions. Yet African spirituality survived, sometimes openly, sometimes hidden beneath Christian or Islamic symbols. People preserved their spiritual heritage in secret gatherings, coded songs, and syncretic practices blending old and new. For example, in Haiti, Vodou emerged as a fusion of African spirituality and Catholicism, playing a central role in unifying enslaved Africans during the Haitian Revolution. In Brazil, Candomblé blended Yoruba deities with Catholic saints, sustaining African identity under slavery. These traditions became reservoirs of hope, resistance, and dignity. The spiritual legacy empowered people to endure and fight for freedom. Modern challenges. Even today, African communities face social upheavals, poverty, political conflict, cultural erosion. Yet many continue to draw resilience from their spiritual roots, seeking ancestral guidance during crises, reviving traditional healing practices alongside modern medicine, reclaiming indigenous festivals and sacred sites as sources of cultural pride. A legacy of spirit is not merely nostalgic. It's a living resource for navigating modern life. Spirit and healing. In African worldviews, health is holistic, entwining body, mind, and spirit. Illness might result from spiritual imbalance, offending ancestors, witchcraft or negative energies. Traditional healers, called sangomas, babalawos, ngangas, or other names, act as spiritual intermediaries. They diagnose not only physical symptoms, but spiritual causes, using herbal medicines imbued with spiritual force, rituals to cleanse negative energies, divination to uncover hidden truths. This integrative approach continues to appeal even in urbanized societies where modern medicine dominates. People seek traditional healers when conventional methods fail or when illnesses seem rooted in spiritual causes. 6. Spirit in sacred spaces. A legacy of spirit often manifests in sacred spaces. Groves, rivers, and mountains believed to house spirits or deities. Shrines and altars maintained for community rituals. Ancestral grave sites visited for blessings and communication. Such places are more than religious sites. They're repositories of history, culture, and environmental stewardship. Sacred groves, for instance, often preserve rare biodiversity because communities protect them as spiritual sanctuaries. 7. Spirit and art. Art is a crucial vehicle for transmitting a legacy of spirit. African art rarely exists for art's sake. Masks, sculptures, textiles, and music serve spiritual purposes. A mask worn in ritual channels the presence of a deity. Drums speak messages in tonal languages. Body art signals rites of passage or spiritual protection. Even modern African artists often draw from spiritual themes, blending tradition with contemporary forms to express identity and resilience. 8. Spirit in the diaspora. The African diaspora carries the legacy of spirit across oceans. Santeria, Cuba merges Yoruba orishas with Catholic saints. Vodou, Haiti retains African spirits under French colonial Catholic facades. Obia, Caribbean, a system of folk magic and spiritual practices rooted in African cosmologies. These traditions sustained enslaved Africans, offering secret spaces for spiritual expression and resistance. Today, they thrive as cultural anchors, helping diaspora communities reclaim identities suppressed for centuries. 9. Misunderstandings and reclamation. African spiritual traditions have long been misunderstood, portrayed in Western media as dark magic, labeled primitive by colonial and missionary narratives, equated with evil practices due to ignorance. Such stereotypes ignore the beauty ethics, and community values embedded in African spirituality. Increasingly, scholars, artists, and practitioners are reclaiming this legacy, documenting rituals and preserving languages, educating the public about the true meanings of practices like divination and ancestral veneration, incorporating traditional symbols into modern literature, fashion, and music. This reclamation empowers African people and others to embrace spiritual heritage without shame. A legacy for all humanity. While a legacy of spirit is deeply rooted in specific cultures, its lessons resonate universally. It teaches interconnectedness. Everything in existence is linked in a cosmic web. Respect for ancestors. Our roots shape our present and future. Harmony with nature. Spirituality and ecology are intertwined. Community over individualism. Well-being is collective. In an era of environmental crises, social fragmentation, and existential anxiety, these ancient teachings hold timeless wisdom. The eternal flame. A legacy of spirit is like an eternal flame passed from hand to hand across generations. It flickers during storms, but never goes out. It illuminates the path ahead while keeping alive the memory of those who came before. In African spirituality, this flame is carried by ancestors, guarded by spirits, and kept alive through rituals, stories, and sacred spaces. It's a legacy of survival resilience and profound wisdom, a reminder that while empires rise and fall, the human spirit endures. As we stand on the threshold of the future, reconnecting with this legacy might be one of humanity's most powerful tools, not only for personal fulfillment, but for collective healing and unity. For in the end, a legacy of spirit is not just about gods, rituals, or ancestors. It's about remembering who we are, where we've come from, and how deeply we belong to each other and the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the mystic realms of African spirituality and the profound power of ancestral wisdom. We hope today's insights have sparked curiosity and deepened your respect for these sacred traditions. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more revelations from hidden spiritual worlds. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspectives. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, the wisdom of the ancestors is always within reach, guiding us toward truth, strength, and unity. See you in the next adventure.